Emma Goldman arrested for lecturing on birth control. Woodrow Wilson signs a bill that incorporated the Boy Scouts of America, and at least one or possibly more sharks attacked 5 swimmers, 4 of which would die. 1 survived in the New Jersey shark attacks. The incident would be the inspiration behind the movie Jaws. The year is 1916, and this was the most expensive car that one could buy in America, the Crane Simplex Model 5. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that digs lost and forgotten cars that are underrated. Car companies that never got the press back in the day are front and center on this channel. We post between 4 and 5 episodes weekly, with engine episodes on Wednesdays. Announcing a new segment, Motorcycle Mondays, which will premiere this week. Not sure if it's going to blossom into full-blown motorcycle reviews, but figured we could do overviews of companies such as Excelsior, Bruff Superior, BSA, Indian, Harley-Davidson, just to name a few, and do engine episodes that correlate with motorcycles as well. This Monday will be the premiere of that series. Also going to try to do this as a weekly episode, much like the engine episodes. But we might have to move the engine episodes to halfway between, say like Thursday, Friday. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Also wanted to make mention that I'm currently on vacation, but I'm working on vacation, which is totally cool. I'm down in Thomasville, Georgia, and I'll be here until Thursday, the 27th. If you're in the area and you have a cool, underappreciated, overlooked car in your personal collection that you would love to see featured in mini documentary format on this channel, be sure to drop me a line at what_its_like@yahoo.com. 1916 Crane Simplex model lineup. But before getting into all of that, Simplex Automobile Company was founded in 1907 with the takeover of S&M Simplex. Also, not to get confused with American Simplex of Indiana, totally different company. Simplex Automobile Company was headquartered in New York City, New York until 1912, when they would move to Brunswick, New Jersey. The original company was called Smith and Mabley, which was established in 1900. Founded by A.D. Proctor Smith, what a name, and his brother-in-law, Carlton R. Mabley. It was an import company for European car companies such as Panhard, Renault, Mercedes, etc., Rolls-Royce. They first attempted to get into the car market in 1902, and it came with some major hurdles. They would produce a car under license from CGV and sold it under the brand name American CGV in an attempt to avoid expensive import tariffs. Legend has it only 7 were made. In 1903, S&M along with Witten were getting sued after an infringement of the Selden patent, which was a patent on the internal combustion engine invented by George Selden in 1878, where George would receive 75 cents on every car sold. It sounds like a Mr. Wonderful deal, doesn't it? Royalty on every car sold. With the large sums of capital coming in from his patent on the combustion engine, Selden would also get into the automotive business as well. And he offered cars from 1907 through 1914, playing the mediocre priced field. Not saying the car was mediocre, just saying it was mediocre priced. Selden would also produce trucks. The truck production went longer until 1932. The lawsuit would be dropped after Witten, Sam, and Mabley joined the ALAM, or Association of Automotive Manufacturers. If there was ever an association with a stick up their ass, this would apply to this association. Picture and all. They were a bunch of pricks. Really cool episode or video explaining it further over on Vintage Car History. I will link in description. In March of 1907, Smith and Maybelline were facing bankruptcy. They would sell the company to a friend of the family, Herman Brosel Sr. Brosel would call the new company Simplex Automobile Company. In June of 1908, Palmer and Singer would be the sole selling agents of the Simplex Automobile. They had a brand new showroom at 1620 Broadway. Palmer and Singer would also introduce a line of cars with the Simplex Model 50. Simplex was the kind of car company that would sell to the 1%, the mega rich. This was a car for the Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, Carnegies. Simplex would also have their hands in both water sport racing as well as road racing. On water, Simplex powered Dixie Series motorboats, which won Harmsworth Cup 4 times from 1907 through 1911. Clinton H. Crane was the designer of the Dixie boats. Simplex was a force on the racetrack, winning 24 hours at the Brighton Beach 3 years in a row, 1908, 1909, and 1910. They might have even won 1911, but Simplex was disqualified in 1911 after causing a fatal crash with a Mercer. Simplex established a new plant just over the river and through the woods in New Brunswick, New Jersey. They would close their New York City plant and move to New Brunswick in November of 1911. A service department was also added on Long Island City. Herman Brosel Sr., the man who would form Simplex, would die June 15, 1912. After Herman passed away, his sons would sell the company to a New York firm, Goodrich, Lockhart, and Smith. Some family members would stay behind in management positions. Simplex would be purchased by the Wright Company of Garwood. Mercer of Trenton, New Jersey, another automobile manufacturer that built high-end cars, would acquire Simplex Automobile Company in January of 1920. It was to be the super premium brand under Hare Motors, but it never materialized. All companies involved would go back to which they came. Goodrich, Lockhart, and Smith would purchase Crane, which was an automobile company that built cars from 1912 through 1915, and these cars are in the penthouse type cars. They're cars for Carnegie, Rockefeller status cars. The chassis for these cars were $8,000 plus the body. It was the highest priced, most expensive car one could buy at that point in time in America. After the collapse of Hare Motors, Simplex went with Mercer. In November of 1922, Crane announced that they were building cars again in New York, Queens, New York. They planned to build 100 cars per year, but production never resumed. It's also important to note that sometime around 1916, Simplex shifted their primary focus from building cars, like head of state cars, to building engines for aircraft for Wright and Martin. Simplex would cease automotive production in 1917, with a total of 1,865 vehicles being produced from 1907 through 1917. 1916 Simplex model line was broken down into 2 models, the Model 50, which was their 4-cylinder offering, and the Crane Model 5, which was their 6-cylinder model offering. The Crane Simplex Model 5 was offered for only 2 years, 1915 through 1917. Let's talk specs. This car rides a wheelbase of 143.5 inches. Price, $7,000, but that's not just all. That's $7,000 for the chassis. You have to buy the bodywork extra. So the bodywork could be any amount on top of that. The bodywork for this car was $2,500, which would be equivalent to you spending, so that's $9,500 total, which would be equivalent to you spending $273,729.86 the year 2024. Total Simplex, I'm talking the total run, was 1,865 units. Total Crane Simplex made in 1916 was only 121 units. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer for the Crane Simplex Model 5. 563.7 cubic inch displacement, T-head 6, 9.2 liters. It's good for anywhere between 100 to 110 horsepower at 1,600 RPM. with an estimated 370 pound-feet or 501 newton meters around 500 RPM with a bore of 4.375 inches and a stroke of 625 inches. It is backed to a 4-speed manual transmission. I found this absolutely rare head of state 1916 Crane Simplex at the Canton Classic Auto Museum, which is located in beautiful scenic downtown Canton, Ohio. For hours of operation, directions, and emission pricing, be sure to click the link below after the show. Let's talk styling. Just wow. Or hold that thought for a second. Okay, so this is a 1916 Crane Simplex. It's parked right next to a Packard Super 8. The Packard Super 8 looks massive, but not when you look at this car. Just look at the size difference. Let's talk styling. Notice this car doesn't have bumpers. Leaf springs come clear to the front. Look at AAA badge there on the grill. Just look at this grill. Fine squares. Look at how the headlights are mounted. They're mounted to this. They're actually mounted to the frame and this bar that goes between them. Look at how the fenders are designed. Massive wood spoke wheels. This one has nickel, so the radiator shell's done in nickel as well as the headlights. This one has a single cowl vent. Also, look at how this body is designed. It's just all curved. It's very gorgeous. The windshield is multiple pieces. It's like 4 pieces for the triangles, and then a piece here and a piece on the top. Notice how the windshield wipers, actually it's just one wiper, but look at how it operates. It looks like it just slides over. Absolutely massive tire. The running boards, they look to be about the same size as it comes back. I'm 6'2", and this car is probably a foot taller than me. It does not have drip rails. It's also worth mentioning that this whole body is made of wood. Just look at how it's designed. Door hinges, there's 1, 2, 3 hinges per door. Coming to the back, rear fender. As it kicks out at the back. Brake lights. This one actually says stop. This car has a trunk and trunk rack. That's what the trunk looks like. Gas filler is on the passenger side. Look at how absolutely gorgeous that gas cap is. This door opens very easily, very nicely. This feels like a leather material. Yes, notice it doesn't have an armrest on the door itself. This is the door handle to get out right here. Window crank for the big window. Notice this would be a chauffeur-driven car. This is the intercom system for the rich people in the back to tell you what to do. There's a jack stand, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just take a look at this interior. This is what over the hood would look like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like. You also have controls on the steering wheel for retard, spark, advance, start, shut, and throttle. On to the button switches and knobs, starting on the left and moving right. Odometer, tripometer, actual dashboard light, speedometer, notice the numbers spin, drum style, oil pressure, Weston amp meter gauge, gasoline gauge, fuel to air mixture, lean, rich with corresponding numbers 1 through 9, lights, charge, tail, head, side, tail, body, cowl, Bosch, dual coil ignition, clock. It even has the second hand, another panel light, Weston voltmeter, coolant temperature gauge. Up above, it's a long way to the top. There aren't any sun visors. There is a rear view mirror there in the center. No sun visor for the passenger. Just take a look at what this roof looks like. Headliner going back. The back has a totally different material than the front. This is more of like a broadcloth with a carpet at the bottom. This is the door handle to get in and out from the inside. Door handle to pull the door shut. Window crank for the big window. Just take a gander at this back here. It's got jump seats. Here's one of the jump seats. Robe rail for a thick blanket in the winter time. This window will go up and down with these. There is the intercom system right there to talk to the person in the front when the window is up. That's what the rear seat looks like. Look at how there's these indentations for your hands to go to lift up on these. Just look at this engine. It's cast in pairs. Lots of copper, lots of brass. Steering column that goes down. Just look how sophisticated everything is. On the positive side, having one was and always will be one of those cars for the very rich, made of the finest materials from that era. Lifting the hood on the intake side is quite an impressive sight. Against it, parts, both mechanical and body parts, have to be made expensive to buy, restore, operate, ensure high running costs. Once the pinnacle, the most expensive car made in America, but it came before the Duesenberg, and a lot of times people only remember what came last or what the last great thing was. This car has always been overshadowed by the Duesenberg. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1916 Duesenberg or 1916 Crane Simplex or 1916 White or 1916 Locomobile? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, a bit outside the box, but which one would you rather have? 1916 Horsch or 1916 Crane Simplex or 1916 Izzata Frescini, or 1916 Rolls-Royce. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Good luck with that one. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I read and answer all comments posted. If you'd like to send me something more personable, something secret away from Commodore's eyes, you can always send me an email at what_it's_like@yahoo.com. Thank you all so much for everything, and until next time, toodaloo. I know, that was a weak one. I want to try a deep one. Toodaloo.